where are you hanging out? Who are you talking to? Are you hanging at your buddy's house every weekend? Or are you in a webinar? Are you listening to this podcast, right? What are you doing like every day to just get you to your very first property, right? Or your very first transaction, or whatever you want to do. So honestly, it's just networking and hanging around the right people. That's huge. That is huge.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 257 of the Real Estate Rundown. It's hard to believe we've got that many under our belt, but it just keeps getting better and better because in this episode, we've got Javier Hinojo with us, and he's going to talk about the importance of mentoring and coaching in the real estate world. Not only is Javier going to show us how to build a business, he's going to talk to us about the experience he has and the experience that he's gotten building that business and how to take that into investment in real estate and how to buy cash flow and how to make that work for you. So if you're looking to learn how to start from literally nothing and have an investment run, turn around in under 2 years, then you're going to want to catch this episode. You're going to want to hear what Javier's got to say because he is going to drop some serious knowledge on you. So tune back into the Real Estate Rundown, guys. You're going to get all of this right here with Javier and I.
Welcome to the RobNet Real Estate Rundown Podcast, where Shannon RobNet has handpicked industry experts to discuss all aspects of investing in the real estate world and seeks to help all real estate investors improve their education and their proven strategies to grow their real estate journeys. Now, here's your host.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Real Estate Rundown. I have the wonderful opportunity today to interview a gentleman that literally started with nothing, came from nothing, and has made a successful career in real estate. Welcome, Javier Hinojo. Javier, how are you, man?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me on the show. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Javier, you've got quite the story. I mean, literally starting with nothing. You've become an experienced investor. You now have product in 7 states. That didn't come overnight, and it didn't come without hard work. But how did you do it?
It came in about a week. No.
Yeah.
Look. So I've been
$25.95 to buy your class, and then they get all these.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Get all the hard work.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what. Look. I'm a high school push out. I was a C+ student. I never went to college. I've only read one book in my life, and it's about a 25-minute read probably. And it has a lot of big pictures and big words. And, but I'm just, I just take action. I just take action. I started my real estate career about 6.5 years ago, flipping houses. And after I flipped some houses, I decided to quit cold turkey like 19 months ago. I sold all my single family houses, and then I just focused on buying apartment buildings. And 19 months later, we're pretty close to $50 million and 690 units in about 19 months. Keep in mind that in 2017, New Year's Day, I had 32 cents in my account. So,
yes. Well, Javier, I mean, listen, this is America, right? This is a land of opportunity, but with that comes a lot of hard work. So let's not gloss over that. I mean, no disrespect to everything you've done. You can't get away with that short of a story that 32 cents, 2017, 600 and some units now. I mean, there had to have been some work in there. Tell us what you really were able to do in that time period that made you exceptional.
Well, I'll tell you what, my wife says that I'm stubborn, but stubborn, persistent. I think it's about, you can go either way, right?
She's not even here and you're going to argue with her about what she said, man.
I know, right?
That's pretty big.
It's very brave. I know. Look, if I could outsource, I know, right? If I could outsource arguing with my wife, I would do it. I would pay somebody to argue with her and then say, honey, you're right. I love you. And then order some flowers. It would save me about 30 minutes of my life.
That's it.
But
how did you do it?
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the biggest things that I did was just network, right? Well, let me back up a little bit. I did a lot solo, right? Just by myself, I was kind of lonely in a way. I was just out there doing deals and getting out there. I wasn't really networking. Not until I started actually networking, I started meeting other investors and I saw them like doing more, right? Just even just in the flips, right? I saw somebody doing 10 flips a year, 20, 50. I'm like, I can do that. And eventually I started to connect with people who had 100 units, 200 units, 2,000 units. And I'm like, I look at them and I'm like, they're not that smart. I'm not that smart. They can do it. I can do it. Just what's the difference between them and me? So let me just do what they're doing. What were they doing? They had mentors, they had coaches. They were part of masterminds. They were networking. I said, okay, all right, well, let me just monkey see, monkey do, right? Let me do the exact same thing. So I started networking. I got into masterminds, got some coaching, and started connecting with people. And, September 2019, that's when I told my wife, honey, I'm not doing any more single family. And we're going to buy our first apartment building by the end of the year. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I just said, I'm going to do it. And sure enough, by the end of the year, we bought our first building. And it was just, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of hard work, a lot of commitment. And, if you're married and you got kids, unfortunately, the ones that suffer and pay the price is a family. That's just straight up. That's the truth,
Yeah.
So, hopefully you're not partying with your friends, hanging out, drinking beer with your buddies, and ignoring your family. You're actually out there working because you're ignoring, and you ignore your family.
Well, and the reality is, look, there's only so much time in a day, right? And you have to give to get, and you have to give up your time to get what you want. But the reality is that that's not a forever thing, right? You started really hardcore in this in 2017. You're now at a place where you can give back to your family, right? You're at a place where you can now participate in some of the things that you weren't ever going to be able to participate. You're able to teach and show your children things that you were never going to be able to teach and show them if you hadn't have taken this action, right?
Yeah, that makes a great point. And if my wife was here, she'd be like, he needs to do more of that.
Yeah. Well, we can definitely write you a note that says, honey, he is out raising money for the family. But that carries little or no weight, as you know.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter what I say, it doesn't matter what you say. It's all about keeping mama happy. But after a couple of years of doing this and you've started to see the results, what do you see happening next with your real estate business? And where did you see that? Did you ever see that when you were thinking about getting into real estate?
When I started, I've always been a big thinker. The biggest thing is I'm super hard on myself. So I always want to do the best that I can. And there's really no I can't do this, hey, well, let's figure it out. Right. It's like if somebody said, hey, let's let's build a car. I've never done it, but somebody's done it before. There's a way to do it.
Right.
So, that's just kind of my attitude from the beginning, hey, let's just get it done. And, where did I see myself? I said, hey, I want to own $1 billion worth of real estate. I just threw a number out there, right? $1 billion. Why? Because it sounds great. And listen, what do I need to do to get there? Right. Yeah. If I hit half of that goal, am I going to cry? No. If I hit a third of that goal, am I going to cry? No. Right. But if I hit it, that's awesome. I just always had just big expectations and, just going from doing my first project to, doing my second, third, I'm on my seventh project now. And, let's see what comes next. Right. I'm not out forcing a deal or a purchase. I'm just waiting for the right opportunity. That's a really good purchase price because, I like to sleep at night. I don't want to stress over a bad purchase.
Well, and it's funny because I had a gal on my podcast earlier, and she said exactly the same thing. You're the second person that's ever said it. To set a goal so big that you don't really expect to get there, but in getting there, you're going to blow away anything you ever thought you could do. And when I was talking with Rachel about it, she kept saying that I've never achieved all my goals every year. And I thought, man, why wouldn't you want to? Don't you feel bad about the fact that you didn't achieve your goals every year? But, hearing you say that, owning $1 billion in real estate, so you land short of that with $500 million. You know what? Look, Javier, that's not a bad number, right? So we're in a place where, to not achieve those goals is still to achieve something spectacular and to set something so audacious that you have that ability to fail because you have that ability to succeed also. And without putting it out there, who knows where you'd go, right? So I love that. Sure. I love that mindset. Yeah. So you talk a lot about mentorship and coaches. Tell us a little bit more about how they've influenced your life and what you're doing now about that.
Yes. So I wanted to join a mastermind for a longest time. And I joined the mastermind. I paid, the 25, 30K that it cost just to get around, big thinkers, people who are doing the business are going to push me, not really motivate me. Cause you don't, if you need motivation as a business owner, you should not be a business owner. You should not be an entrepreneur if you need motivation, right? You should always, have a purpose, right? Motivation is overrated. So, but if you have a purpose, you're going to get there.
Yeah.
So, I just joined some masterminds. I found somebody who was, I do some research, find out who's kind of doing or teaching what I want to learn. And for me, it was very important that whoever I learned from was actually active in the business. I didn't want somebody that had done a deal 20 years ago teaching me. Nothing wrong with that. I just wanted somebody who was actually, in the business doing some transactions that we can learn from. And I mean, that's huge, just getting so you don't make the same mistakes. And in a mastermind as well, you get great connections. My last three projects that I bought have been because of my mastermind that I've been part of.
So so you're a great proponent of coaching. Are you doing any coaching and mentoring for others?
Actually just last week I decided to do a mastermind, and then I do I did a one day event. Well, evening we hang out, and then I do a 1 day event on how to find off market commercial properties. I wouldn't say it's coaching. It's more of a little bit of mentorship in a mastermind. That fits my personality a little bit more than,
Sure.
sitting there and going step by step on everything. But I have my staff that can help me out. So in short, yes, I actually did just last week.
Okay, good. Well, it's a good thing we're having this conversation this
Yep.
week, not last week. We wouldn't know.
For
But
sure.
so what is it that you see when you look at the whole experience that it takes in real estate? I mean, you said that it takes action, right? And we get that. You've got to go actually execute a contract. You've got to get out there. You've got to do these things. But what else does it take that is the experience in real estate? I mean, what is it that really sets guys like you apart?
I think it's just getting over yourself, right? Just making sure that, any negative thoughts or any limited beliefs that you have in yourself, if you can just get rid of that right off the bat, that's huge, because, you can be your own downfall, just your own mind, just saying negative things to you. And that's, just get rid of that. But look, the biggest thing I can say to anybody who wants to do, they want to start to flip a house, they want to wholesale a house, they want to get their first deal done of anything, any kind, where are you hanging out? Who are you talking to? Are you hanging at your buddy's house every weekend? Or are you in a webinar? Are you listening to this podcast, right? What are you doing like every day to just get you to your very first property, right? Or your very first transaction, and whatever you want to do. So honestly, it's just networking and hanging around the right people. That's huge. That is huge.
Yeah. They say that you're the lowest common denominator of your 5 closest friends, right? And I find that to be so true, that the more you hang out with people beneath you, you begin to talk and act and, respond like they do. If you're hanging out with people who have more success than you do, that are doing the things that you've always wanted to do, you're going to find yourself talking and acting and reacting that way. And pretty soon you're going to start to be like them. I mean, we all know that, right? So what does it take really to invest and be successful in real estate?
Look, I always say, buy right, get a great deal. First of all, right? Make the right purchase price. But besides that, it's going to have to be, look, you can be good at finding deals. You can be good at raising capital. You can be good at operations. You can have net worth, sign a loan, things like that. You can be good at one of those things, right? You don't have to be good at all of them. So as long as you find where you fit, like, hey, this is my strong point. Like, I can go out and raise money. That's awesome. That's awesome. Just stick to what you're really good at. You don't necessarily have to do 5 different things. Just do the one thing really, really good.
Right.
And hang around with people who need you. Like, say you can raise capital, right? Well, then go find somebody who's a good deal finder, right? Yeah. Somebody who's finding good projects, and you guys hook up together in JV.
Yeah. That's really true, because you got 2 guys that are sitting there raising capital. They're sitting around in a pool of money with nothing to spend it on, don't know how to underwrite it. But you mentioned you got to buy right. And there's a lot of truth to that. But how does somebody do that in today's environment, where every deal seems to go in 6 seconds and it's multiple offers? How do you find your deals that you're buying right?
Well, half of our projects have been like, just direct to seller, so that you can get a really good, really good purchase price if you get a hold of them and they like you and they trust you. Make a lot of offers. Some people say, hey, quality over quantity. For me, we just make, 30 plus offers every week. And, if somebody wants $5 million and we offer them 3 and they get upset. I mean, whatever, right? But I know that at least every second or third month, somebody's going to take that offer, and
Right.
I'm happy about that.
Right. Sure. So tenacity, right? Continuing to do the same things that get you the results. I mean, going to the gym day after day is going to get you the results. But if you only go once in a while, you're not going to get the results. And so I can see that, but what is it that you mentioned that you like to buy cash flow? What do you mean by buying cash flow?
Well, there's a couple different, kind of purchase, right? Or kind of structures, right? You can buy something that is not cash flowing, but you get at a huge discount. But when it does cash flow, you make a lot of money, right? And then you also have to balance that with buying some properties that are actually cash flowing. Maybe you might pay a little bit more, but it makes sense because your loan is better and you're actually collecting some money, right? So right when I first started, I was buying all those hard, like heavy value add, where we weren't going to make any money for a year or 6 months, 7 months, 12 months, 15 months until you got the cash flow up, right? And that's fine and all, but I can get tough because there's not a lot of money coming in because everything's going out. So, for cash flow, just buy a more of a stable property that's actually cash flowing, right? And you kind of balance both. You can have some big paydays and then some consistency, and they balance each other out.
Yeah. You're right. You can't go all in on one property type because then you're constantly in the rehab mode. You're constantly in the paint and, trying to get the rents up, and you're never getting to where the cash flow is nice. It is nice to have something that you're buying that doesn't need a whole lot of work, probably like your wife thought she was getting with you, but then realized it was a whole lot of work, right? I mean, that's the way my wife got,
Yeah.
She thought she was getting something that didn't need a lot of care and feeding. And then she found out the real thing, right?
I think my daughter knows that for sure. I got a 16-year-old daughter. She says, Dad, if mom saw you at the store and you talked to her, she didn't know you flirted with her, she'd totally ignore you. I go, yeah, she would ignore me.
Yeah. That's why it pays to be there when they're ready, when they're vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
So, but before we get ourselves in total trouble here, Javier, let's get back on topic.
Right.
What is it that you find to be attractive when you're looking for the deals and you're finding, you're writing all these offers? Are you just driving through a neighborhood and writing down addresses? I mean, how are you finding these to make the offer? And how are you basing that offer on? What's your science?
Okay. So we'll talk about, we'll take like an apartment complex. If say you can be at like a 20 unit or a 12 unit, it doesn't have to be a big one. You can say it's a 10 unit apartment building. Once you see the properties, you're kind of underwriting the business, right? So just kind of rule of thumb, I like to see if it's a 10 unit and they want $1 million for it, that means they want $100,000 per unit. And, say it's perfectly rehabbed. It's, you don't have to do anything to it. Okay. I like to see like 1.5. So I would like to see $1,500 in rent, like 1,400 to 1,600, like in potential rents, or that you can rent them out. Like automatically, I know like, okay, I want to look at this a little bit more, right? Okay. Let's spend a little bit more time with it. Let's see if we can get it to those numbers. And usually how do you get those numbers? I mean, you can go on like Rental Meter, you can go on apartments.com, and you can go to Zillow and kind of find out what the market rents are. Unless you have the paid software like CoStar, things like that, it can get a little bit pricey, and that'll kind of tell you the market rents. But you can pretty much figure that out on your own just by checking other online services. So yes, how we can just figure out if it's going to be a good deal, if it's going to cash flow. A lot of people do 1-for-1, like $1,000 for 100,000, or a little bit less. I mean, we want to go a little bit higher.
Right. Well, and when you're going 1-for-1, right, you're buying a little bit more work, right? There's more you got to do for that. And to stick with the strategy that you're talking about, where you're paying a little bit more, but it's pretty much set and ready to go. That seems to be a pretty proven model for you, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Now, we don't get that all the time, but you could always look at, okay, great. What else can we do? Like, who pays the utilities? Like if you look around and you call the other complexes, and every complex within half a mile, the tenants pay the water, the trash, and the electricity. And then you kind of ask, well, how much is that? Oh, it's about $200. And you're like, okay, well, in the one you're going to buy, if the landlord, the owner pays for that, you're like, wow, that's an automatic $200 you can bill back to the new tenants coming in or anybody who signs a new lease. And it depends, right? If you have a 40 unit apartment building, I mean, the property can go up by, $1 million, $1.5 million, just by doing that one thing. The value of the property goes up and you don't even touch anything else.
Yeah. No, and that's true. We did that with a 180 unit apartment complex, started reselling cable and internet.
There you go.
It was $35 a door. On 180 units, that adds up to about $2.4 million on a cap rate.
That's right. And
it
adds up really quick,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a great way to add that value. What are some of the other things that when you're buying property, Javier, are you buying to hold long-term? Are you buying for a set window? What is your investment strategy on stuff like that?
Yeah. Great question. So, a little bit of both, right? I mean, ideally we want to buy something that we can, hold for 2 or 3 years and then do a refinance and get all our money back, right? The BRRRR method, right? Buy, remodel, refinance, repair, something like that, repeat, whatever it stands for, right?
Do that again. That's what it means.
A whole bunch of R's. And, you're able to get your money back, right? You buy property and you're all in for $7 million and the bank gives you, it's worth 10 and they give you 7.5. Well, great. You got your initial money back and now you have a kind of a free property that's going to cash flow. Ideally, that's what we like. Now the couple of properties that we bought, they're going to be like a 3 to 5 year hold where we hold them, we raise the rents, make them a little bit prettier. We hold them and pay down a mortgage and then we sell them after 3 to 5 years, right? Hey, you might get lucky and the market still goes straight up and you can refinance out of them. Great, even better. But that's not the model for that particular property. We have a set where we'll sell it in 3 to 5 years, which in a way, you're still flipping. You're just a long-term flipper,
Okay. Sure. No, and that makes a lot of sense, but you're continuing to repeat that, you're continuing to repeat that. I want to ask last year, let's say in the last 12 months, how many units were you able to acquire in the last 12 months?
If I was to say the last 12 months, I'm at 690. So subtract 63, whatever.
Yeah.
That is. So let's just say 627.
You've acquired over 600 units. Which was harder?
Yeah, 627 units in the last 12 months for sure.
Which one was harder, the first 63 or the next 600?
I would say the first one was harder just because, I didn't play a major role in that particular transaction, but it was my first one. Right.
Yeah.
I thought I was coming in, and I was going to do really well. And I overpromised and underdelivered on my first project, right. With my partners. But, that was probably the hardest one because I didn't know what to expect, what to do or anything like that. The rest have actually, we were actually buying through COVID. As crazy as it sounds, we were buying in May, June, July, August, when like in the heat of COVID, we were still buying these properties. So that was huge for us, being able to close during that time. Especially getting some bridge loans, like the harder loans to get.
What were the things that you were able to do during those time periods that made it easier for you, or made it possible, not easier, possible for you to close when so many people couldn't? What was the magic there?
I'll tell you what. Like I'll give you an example. We bought a 72 unit here, about 2.5 hours from my house in North Carolina, and it was 72 units for $1.3 million, right? And when the bank went out there to look at it, they're like, they couldn't believe it. So they had to go look at it because they thought we were a scam. There was nothing there, They were going to show up and be like an empty lot. And they went to look at it and they're like, oh shoot, there's actually an apartment building here. And they appraised it. We bought it cash and then they appraised it at 3.4 like the next day. Right. So you got a $2 million discount on a property. And that's how you can definitely do it.
Sure. Is that something that's repeatable for you? Buying something at 30%.
Then we bought a mobile home park, 115 pad mobile home park, city water, city sewer, close to Notre Dame for $900K. Right. Once we're done with it, it's worth like $4 million.
Yeah.
For sure.
And that's all off market. You're able to find all this stuff off market.
Those two were off market. Yeah.
So are you the deal finder guy? What role do you play in this? You told us that you don't do everything, right? So what role is it that you are?
Well, I'm more the face of the company. I do a lot of social media. I'll do the podcast. I definitely love to network and get deal flow, right? We got our sales and marketing team as well, but I don't do any sales or any of the marketing. I just kind of like say, hey, I have this idea. Can we make it stick on the, throw something on the wall? Can we make this work? And then I have the team put it together and say, no, it sucks. Or heck, this actually worked pretty well. But I don't handle like the everyday, like workflows, things like that. So for me, yeah, I mean, kind of deal finding is just even through networking, right? The last 3 deals that we purchased were all through networking that I've done, and the deals came to me. So that was pretty cool. So yeah, I would say finding deals, and I'm pretty decent at raising capital.
What do you see for the next 12 months? I mean, if you've done 63 in your first 12 months, you did 620 in your second 12 months. What do you see for your third year?
Well, I'll tell you what, whatever, if I get a good, I said, I'm going to slow down. To my wife, honey, I'm going to slow down. Right. Like, okay, we got a lot of stuff going on. Let's slow down. And then we bought an apartment building like in 7 days. That was like 2 weeks ago. It was insane. But I'm at 690 doors, and we have my next purchase is 312, right? So 312 park portfolio mobile home park. So I'm like, damn, I'm over 1,000 if that works out, and it should work just fine. I don't really know what's next. Just if I get a good project, we'll jump on it, for sure. So hopefully, I mean, just double. I would love to double every year. I mean, that'd be ideal.
Yeah. What do you think is the magic to your team? I mean, you alluded several times that there's other people that do other jobs. What is the magic inside of that team?
Don't leave me in charge of anything.
No open flame or scissors for you, huh, Javier?
Yeah, like don't put me to do an Excel sheet or put a presentation together or anything that I have to like think really, really hard and focus for more than 30 minutes. But no, I mean, really, you can't be afraid to bring somebody on your team or hire somebody who's smarter than you.
Right.
So I think there's 3, like my partner, he's in Houston. He's got a finance degree. Our COO, he's got like a finance degree. Our acquisition guy's got a finance degree. I think one of another ladies has a finance, like everybody has finance degrees. I'm like, I can barely add. I need my calculator. Right.
Right.
So,
right.
Don't be afraid of hiring somebody smarter than you. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I just really, I mean, let him do a better job.
That's a great point, because if everybody's like you, nobody's going to be able to put the presentation together, right? Nobody's going to check all the boxes and make sure we received all the rent. We're just going to look at the pile and go, I think it's there, right? You and I sound like we're a lot alike, and without a good team, without being able to hire your weakness, you really leave yourself exposed to a lot of the things that you wouldn't even know were things unless you had those other people with the finance degrees that like to check the boxes and keep you in line. You wouldn't even know that you were out of line without them, right?
For sure. Like I hired an executive assistant, and the one-liner is like, job description, make me look good. That was it, right? Just make me look organized. Everything.
That's a big job description. How's she doing?
Yeah, she's doing pretty good. So
good. Well, Javier, is there anything else you want to share with my listeners about your journey, about what it was about what made it different, about what you would do? Let's ask this question. If you could go back 18 months and tell your 18, everybody wants you to go back and tell your 18-year-old self. Let's go back and tell your 18-month-ago self. What would you tell them? What would you tell Javier 18 months ago about what this journey was going to be like and what he should be looking for?
I would have said definitely double down on the networking, and I would just say get a better price. It's still a better price. Can't go wrong with that.
It's funny. I was in a room on Clubhouse last night with Rod Khalif, and he made the comment, if I could go back and tell my younger self something, I'd tell him to go bigger sooner. I thought that was pretty amazing for somebody that's done as well as Rod has. Made it, lost it, made it back. The comment was go bigger sooner. So, Javier, it's amazing to see how many people think that real estate is a big boys game, that you've got to come from an Ivy League education. But it's also awesome to see salt of the earth people like yourself succeed in real estate, buck the trends, make things work that most people don't think can happen. What do you think, if you had one person to thank for that success, who would that be?
Wow, if I had one person to thank for that, wow. I would probably say my wife.
That was a very smart move.
Yeah, just because, I've been married 23 years. I don't even know how she put up with me, to be honest with you. Being very supportive. I basically told her when I started real estate, honey, I'm going to ignore you and the kids. And sure enough, I did ignore her and the kids, right? And she stuck there through it all, and a lot of trips, a lot of late nights and things like that. So, she's been, she's been, my number one supporter. So if you don't have that support at home, this is hard enough that it'll be tough. So I would say my wife.
Yeah,
I'll definitely
that's
say
awesome.
my wife.
And that is part of the team that doesn't get seen, but is so important. People don't realize how much that affects your daily. You're going to work and you're doing the do and you're doing the grind, but there's somebody behind you that's cleaning up the mess and putting the socks away and taking care of the kids and all of those kinds of things that really complete the package of who Javier is, right?
And if I had to say hey, how about in business and actual buying the real estate, I would say the folks that I partner with on our projects,
Mm-hmm.
my partner in Houston, Moo, and anybody else that came in a project as a general partner, just everybody has, their own, something to bring to the table. And that's been really, really good because definitely can't do it on your own, right? It's a team sport.
It is. And that's what's funny about multifamily real estate. You see how often that team sport mentality actually shows up and people get involved in other people's deals and help, whether there's a financial stake in it or not. I've seen it time and time again beyond anything I've ever experienced in any other business where that is happening on a daily basis.
Yeah. And then, there's something not going as planned, whatever. Everybody jumps on a call and I'm like, hey guys, how are we going to fix this? What was the strategy? It's just, that's key, right?
Piling on and getting it done.
Yeah. And got to have some problem solvers, guys, on your team. Make sure you have some problem solvers.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Otherwise there's a lot of drinking and crying, right?
That's right.
So, hey, Javier, before we go here, where can people find you in the great wide world?
So you can I've got a Facebook group, $1 billion multifamily commercial real estate. That's my Facebook group. You can follow me on, Instagram, my name, Javier Hinojo .jr. Same, Twitter, just my name. I'm like the only Javier Hinojo Jr. in the country. Facebook, just follow me on Facebook.
Awesome.
I got a podcast as well coming out actually in a few days, The Naked Truth about real estate investing. And I do my first episode in my underwear. No, I don't do that, but it might've worked out pretty good if I did.
As long as it's audio only, you probably have
audio only,
right?
Yeah, my very first episode is how I sold my first flip to a porn star. So true story.
There you go.
Too bad we're out of time.
Well, you'll have to tune into that. But guys, you also see Javier's links below here. You can tune into him there. Thank you for joining us today, Javier. And thank you guys for tuning into the Real Estate Rundown. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Real Estate Rundown on Podchaser, Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you get your podcast to get automatic updates. You'll also find us on Instagram and Twitter, YouTube, and you can follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook. Javier, thanks again for being on the Real Estate Rundown. We really appreciate your time.
Well, so it was a pleasure to be on. Thank you so much.
And guys, be sure and tune in again for the next time we bring you an awesome guest here on the Real Estate Rundown.